Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, I worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, I worship Your holy name. The sun comes up, it's a new day drawing. It's time to sing His song again. Whatever may pass and whatever lies before me, let me be singing till the evening comes. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, I worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, I worship Your holy name. You're rich and loud and You're slow to anger. Your name is great and Your heart is kind. For all Your goodness I will keep on singing. 10,000 reasons for my heart to find. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, I worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, I worship Your holy name. And on that day when my strength is failing, the end was near and my time has come, still my soul will sing Your praise unending. 10,000 years and then forevermore. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, I worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, I worship Your holy name. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, I worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, I worship Your holy name. Yes, I will worship Your holy name. Lord, I worship Your holy name. Lord, I come to You, let my heart be changed, renewed, flowing from the grace that I found.
Buongiorno. Buongiorno, dear BCMCH family. I intend to say good morning in Italian today because our speaker is traveling to Italy this weekend. I call him the albatross of BCMCH because he's always flying and never landing. So that is who our speaker is going to be today, and it's already exciting and I'm getting goose flesh. Before we start our proceedings for the day, may I request our dear Marina Thomas ma'am to start with a word of prayer.
Almighty God, loving Father, thank you, Jesus, for this beautiful Friday morning. Thank you for the rains. Thank you for giving us this day. We thank thee, Lord, for our institution, for the management. We thank thee for giving our faculty many accolades. Thank you, Jesus. Bless all our faculty and all healthcare workers abundantly. Be with our patients through this day and help us to do the right things for them. Thank you, Jesus. We pray for this session. Be with the Department of Biochemistry as they expound on their experience in the last week. Thank you, Jesus. We ask all this in the precious name of the Lord Jesus Christ.
It's going to be really an exciting half an hour moving forward. And that is because our speaker is none other than the Professor and HOD of Biochemistry, Dr. Kannan Vaidyanathan. Why is it going to be exciting? Who is Dr. Kannan Vaidyanathan? Do we all know enough? I don't think so. After completing his MBBS from Government Medical College, Kottayam, he went on to do his MD Biochemistry from the prestigious Trivandrum Medical College, and here comes the cascade, postdoctoral fellowship in microbiology and cell biology from the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. He was awarded the APFCB, Asia Pacific Federation of Clinical Biochemists, Silver Jubilee Scholarship in Beijing, and KP Sinha PS Krishnan Award for Best Original Research Article in Indian Journal of Clinical Biochemistry. He's the member of various associations like American Association of Clinical Chemistry, American Society of Human Genetics, European Association of Cancer Research, and many more such posts. He has been the professor and head of the Department of Biochemistry at Pushpagiri Institute of Medical Sciences, Amrita Institute of Medical Sciences, Kochi. He has been the head of molecular biology at Amrita and head of metabolic disorders laboratory at Amrita, deputy technical manager again at Amrita, and also he's worked at government medical colleges in Kochi and Kottayam. More than 85 publications, including 25 in PubMed index journals, delivered more than 60 lectures in 5 continents, guided 6 PhD students and more than 50 postgraduate students, and examiner for MBBS, BDS, MD, PhD, allied health sciences, and whatnot. His key areas of research interest include inborn errors of metabolism, clinical chemistry, and molecular biology. He's been awarded the FRCS at Edinburgh, and as we speak, he's traveling for a fellowship to Italy and also pursuing his PhD. When we call someone an erudite scholar, there has to be that depth. And I have no reservations in calling the one and only Dr. Kannan Vaidyanathan as an erudite scholar. Can we put our hands together and welcome him as he walks us through his journey of 50 years. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Jacob, sir. Good morning, everyone. Well, I think students know me most through the textbook, isn't it? You know, through the Vasudevan textbook. So I thought that I'll take this opportunity, and like Jacob sir was telling, I just completed my 50 years of life on this Mother Earth. So I thought I'll just rewind and see like where has life taken me academically so far. So that's the title, the road less traveled, life at 50. So why is it the road less traveled? You see for yourself at the end of it, I hope you realize. And just a disclaimer before, this is just a very informal talk. There is nothing official about it because so many senior people like Thomas Chako sir and all are sitting here. This is just meant to inspire students to take up a research career because I am passionate about research, like some of you might know, and this talk is essentially to motivate you to take up research as a career, or at least take up some portion of research as a career option. Even if you're doing clinical medicine, how you can do research. So that's what I try to tell you over the next half an hour. Or if you find it interesting, or if I get too much excited, it might go up to 40 minutes or so. So essentially, I'm going to talk about the research which I had done over the last, say, 20 or 25 years after taking up biochemistry as a career option. So to start off, I'm not going into personal stories because Jacob sir was telling that he was expecting something very, exciting and also something, jokes and tamasha expecting on. Maybe I'll try to put it up something funny also in between. But essentially this is an academic forum and I'll be talking about academics mostly. So to start off, I'm not going into personal stories, but I'll show you a little bit about my family pictures towards the end of the story. So my schooling and college life were essentially even though I was born in Trivandrum, I was essentially brought up in Kottayam because starting from my school days, I was in Kottayam and also studied in CMS College, which some of you might know. It's a very ancient college in Kottayam. And after that, I did my MBBS from Government Medical College, Kottayam. I was fortunate enough to get admitted through the All India entrance, which was at that time. And like many of you, I was also confused whether I should take up engineering or medicine as a career option, etc., like that in the beginning. I also got admitted for REC and Model Engineering College, all those things at that time. But since my parents were from a medical background and since my elder brother also was doing MBBS at that time, I just took up the MBBS as a career line because I didn't have much options to ask. Much advice to ask, and so medicine was, well, I didn't dislike it, and so I took up this career option. And these are some pictures of the old Kottayam Medical College at that time where I studied. This essentially is a biochemistry lab at that time, which is right now demolished, and some of the other buildings, the auditorium, etc. This is, of course, a new building, which if some of you have gone there would have seen that. Well, MBBS studies, there were lots of good times like many of you had. There was academics, of course, but also a lot of, essentially I was just like an average medical student, maybe a little bit more, but I had my share of good times and bad times like many of you, like personal tragedies were there, some illnesses I had, and so all those things were there. So somehow I managed to complete MBBS, so there is nothing much about that. Only thing to mention at that time is probably that my mother was a pediatrician who was practicing as a neonatologist at that same medical college. And around third or fourth year, I was introduced to this topic which sir was talking about, inborn metabolic disorders. And probably I got my initial interest on the topic from that MBBS time only. And also, I had decided to take up biochemistry as a career option, of course. That's, of course, me in the PG hostel and this in the lab. And this is my guide, Dr. Sulekha, who was also the professor and head of the Department of Biochemistry at Trivandrum Medical College, my co-PGs. And There's a famous personality called Dr. Radhakrishnan. I don't know you heard about him. He's a senior scientist in RGCB right now. And he was very into the news when the COVID outbreak came because he flew a flight to China to collect samples for India for molecular analysis, etc. So that time he was in the newspapers and all. So he was working as a technician in the lab. And it was due to his interest that I became passionate about biochemistry, I should say, because he gave me the free hand to do the clinical tests in the laboratory. Because I was working, even though I was a postgraduate student, I was working as a technician because I used to do all the techniques and got interest. And and after 4 p.m. I used to go to the libraries to read the biochemistry or other branches of medicine till about 11 o'clock in the night. And again, next day morning, I used to start at 5 or 6 and start with a morning walk with a famous personality. Some of you might have heard of Dr. Krishna Das, who has written the medicine textbook. And I had the fortune to have some morning walks with him during the PG days. And he used to talk about lots of things about philosophy and medicine and life in general. So that routine continued for quite a long time, almost a year. So that was some of the memories. Of course, lots of other memories are there during my postgraduate days also. And after that, I had the good fortune to do the postdoctoral fellowship in Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. Now, this selection was a quite rigorous process because it was at a national level from the Department of Biotechnology. Only about 20 or 22 candidates were selected. And mind you, it was on the basis of the MD thesis that I got selection. I didn't expect to be selected, and therefore I was very confident, and probably the board was inspired by my confidence, I don't know. But anyway, I got selection. But after that, it was not so easy, but still, I was able to complete a couple of projects. And this was one of the first projects which I completed during the postdoctoral fellowship days in Bangalore. I tend to call it as a Bangalore days because it was one of the greatest times of my life, because we used to get up like, again, 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning to get the liquid nitrogen. Those who are working in the labs will know about the liquid nitrogen. We used to go to the facility to collect the liquid nitrogen containers and then go to the clinics or the hospitals which are about an hour away to collect the samples. And by 5 o'clock in the evening, we used to come back to the lab and start our PCRs and all, and the runs and the gels. It's a 16-hour gel, 16-hour run of the gel called a technique called CSG. It's a variant of the Page electrophoresis gel. And we used to run it every day, almost like overnight gels used to be run. And at the end of it, what happened was this paper came out on the BRCA mutation. So this was the interesting aspect about this particular paper is that we identified a particular mutation called 185 del AG mutation. This was found to be preponderant among the Ashkenazi Jewish population. So this Jewish population had a high incidence of this particular mutation that is found in high incidence in the South Indian population. And what we did was we took familial breast cancer samples. So that is at least 2 members of the family were affected by breast cancer. So those families were taken, and in that we did the BRCA1 and BRCA2 gene analysis. And this was a PhD student, Smita Lakhoti at that time, now Smita Jain. So she started the project, and I had the fortune to carry on with that project. So this was the publication came much later. We did this work around 2005 or 2006, but the paper came in 2009 or 2010. So we had a long way to get it published. So nothing comes easy, as they say. And this is also well cited. One of the landmark, I wouldn't say landmark, but one of the important papers on this topic from India, still getting citations. And on the basis of this work only, I got the selection for that Beijing conference, the Asia Pacific Federation of Clinical Biochemistry Award, which Jacob sir was mentioning. And this was my guide, Professor Kumar Somasundaram. He is a very senior scientist, a pakka scientist, as you would call, what's that, a very rigorous kind of person. He used to make us work like anything. So he's still there in microbiology. He used to come for some of the conferences which I invited after that, but he's a very hardcore scientist. And this was the second project which I did in IASC on the role of HER2 new gene. So those who are in pathology might be aware of that gene, which is an important gene related to breast cancer. So what we usually do is immunohistochemistry, but we did a study on both immunohistochemistry and RT-PCR. So that was probably one of the first times that RT-PCR was used for protein expression studies, and we found good results also. But even now, this immunohistochemistry is preferentially used for many of these studies, but we found that one of the implications of the study was that RT-PCR can also be used. So probably this was one of the early studies where RT-PCR was used in India for some molecular diagnostic studies. And we also did some Kaplan-Meier survival analysis and found the association of HER2 new, also known as HER2, and other biological parameters. So these two studies were essentially done during my postdoctoral fellowship. So these are, of course, hardcore. I don't know how many of you undergraduate students understood about this. But these were essentially hardcore research topics which were done. And on the basis of that, these two projects and that experience in the institute, Indian Institute of Science, actually the further developments of my career took place. So if you have an option, if you are interested in research, that's the first thing I would like to tell you. Get an industry experience from an institute. Of course, like Indian Institute of Science or CCMB Hyderabad. If you get any opportunity for training in such institutions, do not hesitate to take it up, because it's going to do wonders for your research career. And this was a pathologist in Kidwai Memorial Institute of Oncology, Bangalore, Dr. Geetashree Mukherjee, who supplied the sample and who was the main collaborator for both these projects. And in fact, on the basis of these two projects, I later on had an opportunity to go back to Indian Institute of Science as an alumni member. And that time, can you guess who that was? Who that is? Students? This was for a conference. They had an alumni get-together along with a conference. And at that time, I went back and presented my work during this conference and had an opportunity to meet with this particular guy. Venki, as he is known, is a Nobel laureate in 2009. Another Nobel laureate was also there, and he also actually gave a signature also for me. I still have that. So anyway, after that, I moved on. I actually, at that time, initially I thought my boss, you know what happens when you do some work, you think your bosses are not happy with you, isn't it? And I also felt the same thing, that my boss was not happy with me because he was very aggressive, all the time abusing everybody, including myself. So I also thought that he was not very happy with me. But at the end of this 2 years, I said that I'm leaving. Then he asked me, what are your plans? I said I was going to go back to my hometown and join Amrita Institute of Medical Science, Kochi. Then he asked me at that time, don't you want to go abroad? So to US, I can send you to US if you're interested. But then I had already committed myself to work in Amrita, and I said, of course, another reason was that I was also thinking of the family ways, because until then, starting from my postgraduate days, it was quite hectic work. And I was also thinking about family. So I just wanted to come back home, because my wife was doing PG at that time and we wanted to settle down. But I did get an opportunity to go to US, which I politely refused at that time. Now, whether it was good or bad, I don't know. I still think about it. Anyway, in Amrita, I worked for about 6.5 years initially, and then went back for a second term for 3 years or so. So totally about 10 years I worked in the metabolic disorders laboratory, as well as in molecular biology laboratory, heading the molecular biology laboratory. And this was probably the first term, especially in Amrita, was probably the most productive time of my career. And we developed a lot of projects. We did a lot of projects. For example, was, anybody knows who he is? The late Professor V. Balakrishnan. He was a famous gastroenterologist and pancreatic surgeon. So probably pancreatologist. So probably George Chandy sir would have recognized him. He has also written a book called Fire in My Belly. And we had this project on micronutrients in chronic pancreatitis, which produced about 16 publications and a PhD for Dr. Girish here. And Dr. Rajesh was also involved in that project. He is now, his career also was developed as a result of this project. And he is now heading the gastroenterology department in Amrita Institute of Science. So this was, of course, the project was by Dr. Balakrishnan, but we did most of the work in our lab. For example, this particular project is on homocysteine and the amino acids in the pancreatitis. This was a landmark publication, and most of these 16 publications were in high impact fact journals, and we did with limited funds, not huge funds or anything. We had something like 5 lakhs or something. With that, we produced 16 publications. So it is not essential that you need large amounts of money to do research. Even with limited funds, if you have some good ideas, you can still carry out good research and get some good publications. So this was this project, and we got about 250 citations altogether from these different publications. Maybe a little bit more, just a rough estimate. And another project, in particular important for today, because today is the International Heart Day, is a project on coconut oil and the impact on cardiovascular disease. So this was a pet project of the late Professor Haridas. So he was very passionate about this project. Of course, Dr. Vasudevan was also involved. They were trying to prove that coconut oil was not bad for health, at least. And later on, Dr. Sundaram was another statistician, famous statistician who was involved in this project. And after Dr. Haridas passed away, during the course of the project, Dr. Vijay Kumar took over the study. And this was also published in in a Science Direct Indian Heart Journal, actually, and got some good citations. Essentially, what it found was that coconut oil is not bad for health. That's, in summary, what the project did. And in fact, if you use it too much, even PUFA, or the polyunsaturated fatty acid containing oils, are not very good. So that's the essential, in a summary, of this particular project. And this has been replicated in other studies also, that too much oil is not good, but little bit, if you take it in moderate amounts, coconut oil at least is not bad for health. We did lots of biochemical parameters in this particular study. I'm not going into the details. Now, this was another paper or project which really changed my career a lot. Even to this date, it is changing my life to a great extent, because this has been cited. You know, this paper has been cited in journals including the Nature and Journal of Chromatography and Clinica Chimica Acta and like that. And in fact, today morning, on the basis of this citation, I got an invitation to write a article for the CCA, Clinica Chimica Acta also. So this was the project which has really changed my career a lot, because this was a pet project which I gave to this particular PhD student, Mr. Narayan, and he is now a faculty in one of the AIMS, Rishikesh, actually. And of course, this was under the guidance of Professor Vasudevan. Now, 2 papers came out from this project. One was the results of this study, and second was a review. And both these papers together has got a lot of citations, 100+ citations, especially because it got very high impact journal citations. So that was very what was satisfying as a scientist to see your paper getting cited in good journals. And this was a paper which also got the Best Paper Award for the Indian Journal of Clinical Chemistry, the KP Sinha PS Cushion Award for a particular year. So this was selected as the best paper. And another thing was that both these papers were selected almost immediately after we sent for publication. Almost like a week's gap, the papers got accepted as well. And around that time, I know you are all waiting eagerly for the next presentation, was the one of the ACBICON conferences which happened in Kerala, the ACBICON 2009 Kochi, and I was happy to be associated with Professor Vasudevan at that time as a joint organizing secretary. This was a huge event like what happened few days back, And this has got lots of international faculty came, and it was also a runaway success. Now, we also had some other projects running. For example, this was the project for Dr. Sukesh Mukherjee. He is a faculty in AIMS, Bhopal. Some of you might have seen him during the conference, and Dr. Subir Das was his guide. So both of them were involved in that project. And in fact, they were also associated with the ACBICON conference along with me. They were working in the same department. And we did this study on alcohol and various parameters, and lots of publications also came. And in fact, the association with both of them continue even now. And this was a paper which we wrote together with Sukesh just last year. And this has also got a lot of impact and lot of attention. And in fact, I probably will be going to Africa in connection with this particular paper to give some talks in some of the African countries, because they also want to see how inborn errors can be implemented in resource-limited settings. And this is another project which I'm not going into much details. Sabida, her PhD, Sabida is working in an industry setup right now. And some of you might know Dr. Shiv. He was the president of the Indian Cardiovascular Society, and he was a famous cardiothoracic surgeon in Amrita at that time. He was the guide for Dr. Sabida. And another project which was on meditation, this was another famous endocrinologist, Dr. Harish Kumar, and his student, Dr. Vandana, did her PhD around that. So you can see that most of this work were related to PhD, and that is one reason why probably I am very close to some of the PhD candidates here as well. Because most of this work, in my experience, has been done by not by MD candidates. Of course, I don't have any reservations in that regard, but most of the work which I did or my career has been shaped by the PhD candidates and their work in Amrita, mostly in Amrita. And Vandana did this project, and she got her PhD at the end of it. So these were the projects which we did in Amrita, but my essential focus was on inborn metabolic disorders, as Sir was telling. And we did lots of tests on clinical samples, and these are the full list of them. More than 10,000 samples were analyzed for different inborn metabolic disorders from various parts of Kerala, as well as from other parts of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. It was a referral lab, and we got lots of cases, including amino acidureas, organic acidureas, and various other disorders. And some of these results were published in this was another paper. It was a book chapter which has got great citations in a book called Intech. This was, of course, a payment journal. What is that? It's a free access, public access journal, but this was a paper which got a very good citations, and our work on 5 years experience on inborn metabolic disorders was published in this book chapter. And these are some of the cases which we detected. Now, this is a case, I don't think you can see that, but this is a case of phenylketonuria. This is another case of maple syrup urine disease. This is a case of hyperglycinemia. This is methylmalonic aciduria, and this is, of course, alkaptonuria. So you have studied that in the textbook, but if you are working in pediatrics or neonatology or biochemistry, you can see lots of such cases actually coming in our own state just right before us. So this got a lot of attention, I should say, and really put our research work to the international focus. So this was. Now, in addition, we have also not only just academic writing, we are also involved in some non-academic writing, like in newspapers and journals, and also some corporate publications. So, for example, this was a paper from the Spinco journal, and this is from the Tech Agape, published much later. So then the second term, in molecular biology also, we did lots of studies when I joined Amrita. For example, the Duchenne muscular dystrophy gene analysis, the spinal muscular atrophy gene analysis, and HPB gene sequencing were done at that time. But these were multiple clinician-involved studies, and so far we have not been able to move forward in publishing them, even though they were presented in various international conferences. And afterwards, I joined, I left Amrita because Vasan sir had also left, and then I was into the family way because my son was there. I wanted to be with him, and I shifted to Pushpagiri Medical College, where I was heading the Department of Biochemistry, and also tried my hand working in as an administrator, but it was probably a huge failure. I tried as a deputy medical superintendent. I don't know, the Pushpagiri people will have to judge, but I personally didn't like that job, and I wanted to come back to biochemistry. So I also worked as a scientist in Pushpagiri Research Center. But at that time was also quite an interesting time in Pushpagiri, a very exciting time, because I had the fortune to associate with very senior scientists like Professor Suresh David, who is an author of a huge textbook on emergency medicine. He was the medical director, and he supported a lot, tried to develop me as an administrator and do my work as a deputy superintendent. Then, of course, Professor Anand Manoharan, who was a senior scientist, Dr. Sujit Chandi, who's, I don't know, some of you know him from CMC Vellore. He was a famous pharmacologist. And Dr. CKK Nair. And of course, from the MG University, I had association with Dr. Nandakumar and Dr. Sabu Thomas, very famous and senior nanotechnologists. And of course, why I put him? Because I put him in charge of the molecular and metabolic research lab. He had just joined as a young scientist at that time, completing his PhD from JIPMER. And of course, now maybe I can put his name along with the others in this graph, but essentially because he was instrumental in developing that lab actually, because at that time, as I told, I was doing the administration, and we developed also to a certain extent, but unfortunately we didn't get much samples for molecular analysis at that time in that lab. And we also, I also tried my hand with Thomas Chakosa's field at that time, medical education, and had a couple of papers in that context. I tried to do my own work, but that failed. But you know what women do? They try to take up your projects and make it into success, and that's exactly what my wife also did. Because the paper which I failed to publish, she took up the project and she published a paper in her national journal, and she got her promotion as well. So, and this is actually Philip who did the statistical work in that project, and Philip is now working in WHO. So he's a technical officer in WHO. I think Sarita might know him. And in fact, my wife was doing her PhD at that time, and I don't have to tell stories, so I had to do all the writing work, but she would get all the papers. But then I had a deal with her that at least second author should be mine. And so like that, 5-6 papers came out along with my wife during this time. And of course, this was the other project on medical education from Pushpagiri. And around that time, I also got the opportunity to associate with KUHAS as their member of the postgraduate studies, so had the fortune for that. And also, inspired by the medical education, I also did the advanced course in medical education. Why I put that? Because I had the great fortune to be associated with my previous medical college teacher, Professor Sajid Kumar, and had a lot of great experiences with on medical education from him, actually, before I met Thomas Chakos sir. And I was not very much involved in the auditing of the lab during all these times. So what I did was I thought I'll not do the what is called NABL, which Dr. Riju might tell you about. But what I did was I went directly for the international training, international lead assessor training. And this was done in Kathmandu. And of course, by the grace of God, I managed to complete this course, and I am certified right now as an international assessor for the laboratory. So that means technically I can go anywhere in the world and assess any lab anywhere. But then unfortunately, you know what happens? Indians are not called by US people for assessing their lab. So I stay here. Anyway, whatever, I had the opportunity to see this, some of the beautiful places in Kathmandu as well. The course is very difficult to pass. Even here also we had the standards course which is carried out. And then along in Pushpagiri, when I was in Pushpagiri only, I had the opportunity to go for lots of international conferences like AACC. I had the opportunity to meet the president of AACC, Michael Bennett, and associate with many senior people. For example, this was in the Euromed Lab Barcelona, where I met Mario Plebani, one of the pioneering international clinical chemists and editor of the journal CCLM. And this was, of course, during the editorial board meeting, where I was fortunate to be the member for about 6 years. And finally, I joined Believers Church Medical College last year in February. And these are some pictures, of course, from the lab you might have seen. And this is a collage from and this, of course, the graduation day. And this, I think, Dr. Riju was celebrating his 50th birthday last year. So I thought I'll show that picture since it's also my life at 50. So there's a senior person with whom I wanted to honor. And we have lots of these birthday celebrations in our department. Every birthday is being celebrated, and I think it's showing on my overall physique as well. So, and probably my wife is telling enough of celebrations, but you can maybe focus more on your work, at least when you are going for work. So, but another one, I thought that Jyotirandhi sir will be there, so that's why I put this picture here. So by now I had developed a passion for traveling as well, and so one of the dreams was to go to South America, and so this was a picture from the WASPAM conference in Uruguay, and I also did some tour of Brazil and Peru, so you can see, yes, you can guess that, what it was, Machu Picchu and Christ the Redeemer, and some of the, that's the famous falls in Brazil and Argentina. So had the opportunity to go to, so that's thanks to Jyotirandhi sir. Of course, he is a great motivator. So if without showing his picture, of course, I had not been involved with him on any projects, but without showing his picture, I thought this presentation would be incomplete. So this is my career so far. I've given just a broad overview about some, the sir showed a picture now. It's about 10 PhD students, including those who are running, and about 100 PG students guided, about 100 publications, and more than 100 talks as of now in national and international conferences. Now it goes across all continents except Antarctica. So, and this is, of course, the textbook which you are familiar with. And this is the 10th edition. And this is the revised edition. This is, of course, the 9th edition. And the dental book. There's also a book on clinical chemistry, which we have written long back, but that was not very successful. But at the same time, this textbook has also been translated to other international languages, including, this is Croatian, and this is Spanish, not Italian. So it has also been translated, and it came from Mexico. So the next target is to go to Mexico. So, of course, as it's just a reason to go. And this is, do you know this lady? This is Dr. Sri Kumari, who is the second author of the textbook. And there's a picture which was taken on Vasudevan sir's 50 years in biochemistry. So there was a celebration in Thrissur for honoring Vasudevan sir on his 50 years career. And this was a picture taken during that time. And this is sir's wife, Mrs. Devi Vasudevan, and we had taken this picture. So, and around that time, after I joined Believers Church, the Royal College of Physicians thought that I have achieved enough, so I am eligible for this particular degree called the Fellowship in Royal College of Physicians, or FRCP as they call it. So it was also a great opportunity for me, great honor for me, because previously one of my great mentors, I should say, because he introduced me to research, Professor Haridas, I showed the picture earlier, when he received the FRCP, and the same honor when I received it was quite a good feeling, and it was all the more satisfying because my family was also there at that time. And of course, this is my father, which many of the seniors here know, and this is my mother, who are, of course, my the first teachers, not only in life, but also in medical studies as well. And of course, this is my wife, and this is my son, Ishan, who is doing the 6th standard right now. And this is the President of the Royal College of Physicians, Professor Andrew Elder. And this other achievement is which I didn't mention till now, was the task force for newborn screening, which I got selected in the IFCC. And we had online meetings for a long time because of the COVID. And then finally, Professor Jim and Professor Van are the seniors in that group. And of course, I had the fortune to be in that group. And we met this year in Rome. For the first time, we met in person. And this was a picture taken at that time. We had a marathon 3-hour session, 3 or 4 hour session to discuss, even without forget a coffee break. We didn't even get water during that time during the conferences. It had to be paid. So I thought it's better not to pay because you have to pay in euros. So anyway, we had a marathon session, and this was taken at the end of that session. So right now, I have 3 options in the IFCC. My term is getting over because December my task force term is getting over. I can either get terminated or they may elect me again for another term, because officially you are permitted to have 2 terms if you perform well. Or the third option is, of course, I can be elevated to a higher post. So all the 3 options are currently available and open for me because I'm just 50 right now. So there's still life ahead for me, I hope. And also, I don't claim to be like too great or anything. Like I was talking to Jacob sir also. If you look at, maybe from the believer's perspective in biochemistry, maybe I'm the person who has achieved the maximum. But if you look around, if you just go out in India and see some of the scientists, for example, in conferences or other academic activities, for example, in Indian Institute of Science or elsewhere, you can see lots of people who have achieved a great deal more. So my only objective was to motivate you to take up a different path. It's not that true that always you should take up the path which everybody takes. Because sometimes when you take a different path, for example, I took the different path, 2 roads really diverge in a wood when I was really at a loss, because as I told you, I was not very much interested in medicine when I joined MBBS. So I didn't know what to do because I already joined medicine. Of course, I had no option to go back at that time. In fact, I tried joining BCom. I left MBBS in between and tried joining BCom, but then unfortunately I failed miserably before some +2 students, and I thought it was better to do MBBS rather than BCom, so I came back. Anyway, there was lots of confusion like many of you might be having in different stages of your life. So I took the top path which was not many people select. That's even my friends used to laugh at me when they said I want to take up biochemistry. But then I took up that topic, and that has probably made the difference in my career. So at this stage, as I told, I was going into the international scene. I am right now starting my international scene, I should say, and there is a possibility for doing something more, but we needed to produce something big at this stage. Something really big was needed to prove myself or prove our department is capable of doing something ahead. And that's when this particular conference came up. So over to my colleagues, Dr. Riju and Dr. Abel. So thank you for bearing with me. I hope I didn't extend too much.
Thank you, dear Dr. Kannan. I'm feeling dizzy after listening to all that. And all the best for your ACBICON-23 in Antarctica, because I know you're planning to set up an offshore lab there and conduct the 60th ACBICON in Antarctica. So on a more serious note, it's been an amazing journey for Dr. Kannan sir, and it's a great privilege, sir, to have listened to you this morning, and I'm very sure that many of our students will try and take the road less traveled than taking the beaten path. Some of us never had 2 roads we had just 1 road, and we are traveling in that happily. So let us see if we can also look at some roads less traveled. On that note, we had magnum opus at Trivandrum, to some of which few of our students were witness with those beautiful red t-shirts. And yes, ACBICON 2023. And we have two of our wonderful stars presenting. And to start with, Abel Jaison, Dr. Abel Jaison, Assistant Professor of Biochemistry, a rising, shining star of biochemistry. Over to you, Dr. Abel.
Good morning, dear teachers, my friends, my students. They are not my students. They are like my younger brothers and sisters. Okay, it's just a 10 minutes presentation of the behind the scenes, how we reached there, See, ACBICON means Association of Clinical Biochemists of India. It's annual conference. So it was in 2009, as our dear Kannan sir mentioned. The last time in Kerala it happened in 2009. It is the most prestigious event of biochemists all over India. And even though it's a national conference, for the past 15-20 years, it's been an international conference because not less than 50 delegates will be from outside India. So it's an international conference. So much work had to done to reach there. So it's just a presentation. So the idea of conducting the 49th ACBICON was conceived at 47th ACBICON in Kolkata in 2021. And again, our dear Kannan sir was the vice president-elect of ACBI then. Kerala's bid, we submitted the bid for the 49th ACBICON in March 2022. So what was our strength? What did we have then? Yeah, we are very small. We are small in numbers, but we had a very great heart to achieve the great things. See, Dr. Kannan was the common link between all of the department in biochemistry. In fact, he was my external examiner in MD exam. I think he noted me at that time itself. And when I came here for the interview, there was not much interview actually. When he saw and he said, yes, I can join tomorrow itself. I mean, yeah. Again, he was my external examiner, that's why. Okay, right. So at that interview, he told me that, Abel, we have a plan to conduct the national conference that's 49th ACBICON in 2023. And you know, this is young blood, right? So of course, sir, we are there. And you know that Dr. Cletus, Ajit, Dr. Riju, we are a small team, but we are more or like a family. We are a family. So that's the strength that we have. So ACBI head office approval. See, we have to get the approval from the ACBI head office. And we got that approval in the last year conference in November 2022. So we traveled there as the whole biochemistry department traveled there. And at that time, we we got the bid. The ACBI head office approved to conduct the 49th ACBICON in Kerala. So we welcomed the scientific community with a beautiful welcome video. And everyone was thrilled to attend the conference in Kerala. And the following great personalities, we had to thank them. It's not a formality actually, it's from the heart actually. And when we presented this project before the patrons, our metropolitan, our Achan, they gave okay, you go ahead. And that's the word that we have, that we want. We have the heart, we have everything, but we need some backup plan, we need some insurance, we need the support that was given from the institution. So we are grateful. We are grateful from the heart to them. It's literally not the formality, it's literally from the heart that the difficulties we pursued, how they helped us. It is really from the heart. Our Daniel Etchen, and again, Chanti sir, there is nothing more to add upon him, but I say he's the hand of God. He's the hand of God, because in the most difficult times, with a simple smile, he will say, go ahead, we are with you. So that's the thing that you needed to achieve the greatness. And we got it plenty from this institution, especially from our great George Chanti sir. And our team, these were our patrons, and this is our amazing organizing chairperson, the stalwart of the biochemistry in all over India, internationally, is the stalwart. So he was with us again. That's the strength. Again, organized secretary, nothing much to add upon him. The best boss to work with. And when we conduct a national conference, 75% of the work is done when the scientific program is done. And Dr. Kannan, actually he's saying he's 50, he's look like 40, he works like a 25-year-old. So when we see the scientific program, the whole of the scientific community was thrilled to see the lineup, thrilled to see the erudite scholars all over the world to line up for the conference. So the 75% of work was done at then. So he was the overall in charge of the scientific program, and overall coordination, he was the boss. Yeah. And the joint secretary is our dear Anu madam, and she did a great job in coordinating all of the academic activities. We are actually a department in BCMCH, so she coordinated all of the academic activities for us when in the presence of us, and she done it very well. So we are actually indebted to her. And Dr. Riju, is a mastermind. So he's the best in doing everything. He was the head of the corporate participation from IT field, and you know him, that the best minds in doing these computer things. He is actually a little bit older than me, but he's like Bill Gates in doing these things, in computer things. I don't know what whole things he is actually doing, but he's the best in doing that. And treasurer. So we assigned our organizing secretary, our dear Kannan sir, assigned each and every person according to their abilities. And our Cletus sir, he's the exact person to be the treasurer, because he is very accurate and very strict in dealing with these things. So he was our treasurer. And me, I was the coordinator of hospitality. It's my field, hospitality. And then Ajit. Ajit was very much involved. That the volunteers who attended the ACBICON, you saw that. Mr. Ajit was in and around the corporate teams. Corporate are the back strength of us. For the conduction of any conferences, we have to have the sponsorships. But and again, at this time, this is one of the most wonderful conferences that we are going to do. And he was coordinating all the logistics and this corporate team. He was making them very happy. And again, Miss Lynn, special thanks to Miss Lynn. Her abilities are, the sky is the limit for her abilities. Without her, the registration committee, the program coordination would not have happened. In fact, I remember she was at the registration desk for the 3 whole days. She didn't get up from there. And when you see the photos, and all, we could see only 1 or 2, 3 or photos of her because she was doing the work. She was the person of the conference. And Kishore, though he is senior in age, very good looking, but he's actually a junior to me. But he was the best coordinator of the programs, and he coordinated the activities in the conference hall, the exhibition hall, the food, everything very well. Then the executive committee members, Mr. Hari, our assistant manager in the lab, he was behind the mementos, the certificates, the whole coordination. And then my brother Manish, my brother, actually, see, he is the assistant professor in the Department of Pharmacology, but he is executive committee member of ACBICON. It's, BCMCH is a family. This is the evidence of the saying, BCMC is a family. He's my best friend, he's my brother, and I'm proud to say that without him, the conference would not have been this best. Manish. And again, Miss Nimi, she was a friend. She coordinated the activities very well, and she is a biochemist, senior biochemist and lab quality manager in Daya Hospital. So we have the help from outside. Yeah, this was the conference of all of Kerala. Now the venue confirmation, we confirmed the venue in December 2022 in Trivandrum. We have actually plans to conduct the conference in Vijaya itself, just near Tiruvalla. But the problem was that, the corporate, the corporates are the exhibition of the corporates is with the big machines. So the big machines has to be transported directly from the airport to the conference venue. So the here we know that we have a disadvantage that it's like 3 hours or 3.5 hours from the nearest airport. So they were making an objection regarding that. So that's why we had to take up a better option only regarding that. Otherwise we could have conducted here itself. But again, we chose the most accurate venue in Trivandrum. That's Alsaj International Convention Center. So we done a trial run in February 2023 as a CME, a 2-day CME on the topic Emerging Paradigms of Laboratory Medicine. So it was a trial run of the conference. It showed the weaknesses, the areas we have to focus. Now, regarding that, website, logo, brochure, these were all in-house, Mr. Ronnie was behind the design, is the staff of BCMCH. Mr. Srikanth designed the website. So this was all in-house. This showed that, we are very small in numbers, but we have, if you have a heart, we will find a way to make everything the best. Okay, and our CA, our chartered accountant was Sunita, again, wife of Dr. Manish, and it's a family affair, And our secretaries, Mrs. Priya and Ms. Maya, were helping us. And this was the early logos that we had to decide which logo to take. And this is the logo that we took. Much time spent for making this logo. So again, this is a lesson. There are some areas, very simple areas, we will give more time. Shouldn't have happened, but actually this logo was a result of so much time and energy. The first announcement was made in March 2023. The corporate engagement, we had the first meeting with the corporates in April 2023, and these were all the sponsors for the event. And this was the floor plan for the exhibition hall. Again, it's all made in-house. These are designed by our dear Ronnie. faculty invitation, we we sent the faculty invitations from April 2023. The website, one of the best website that have ever created in the history of ACBICON was our website. And numerous accolades were following regarding the website. And it was functional by the end of May 2023. And this is our website, www.acbicon-23kerala.com. It will be in our memory for the whole of our life. And hotel bookings, the info on hotel bookings for faculty and delegates were uploaded in the website by the end of May 2023. And Hotel Uday Samudra. 5-star resort at Kovalam for all the faculties, because this is a national as well as an international conference. So this we had to book the best option for the faculties. So we found that in Hotel Uday Samudra, and it was confirmed by June 2023. We started the early bird registration and abstract submission for the posters as well as the oral presentations from June 2023. And the ACBI office, they came for the venue site inspection in August 2023, and I was fortunate to accompany Dr. Kannan and Dr. Praveen Sharma, who is one of the most famous scientists in the whole scientific committee whole world, actually. So he is an office bearer in most of our organizations. So he was very happy to see our arrangements. Pre-conference workshops were held at the most prestigious RGCB, Rajiv Gandhi Center for Biotechnology in Trivandrum, and also at Alsaj International Convention Center. And chief guest confirmation was done by the first week of September. At that time, we got the confirmation. Ms. K.K. Shailaja teacher was going to be our chief guest. So our event management team, so this wouldn't have been done by the event management team. And these were the exotic holidays, and they were like brothers to us. They were like friends, brothers, and they were with us the whole time. Our volunteers, 51 students of 2021 batch, 51, and they were amazing. They were amazing, and they did their job very well. Division of labor, the in charge for pre-conference workshop, conference hall, registration, exhibition hall, food, everything were divided among the core committee members, assisted by the volunteers. Faculty transport and accommodation, we gave a faculty information Google form for all faculties and guests. All information, including the flight details and days of accommodation, were compiled prior to the arrival of faculties. And this is the last slide. The last minute preparation going on. It's a pic from the Uday Samudra resort. And we were all behind this. I think it's in the 12th evening, 13th evening. Yeah. Okay. Again, we have much more to mention. We have our dear Jabia with us, and I think Riju sir will be showing more pictures of her. She was the main MC there at the main conference hall, and you know her, Jabia. And Riju sir will be showing more of the pictures. So this is how we reached there. So I think we were very small in numbers, as I said, but we had the heart to achieve the greatness. And when we say we were very small, because the budget of the event was 1.5 crores. So with this team, a simple team, we had achieved the greatness. So we are very proud to say that you only need heart, not numbers. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Abel. That was a quick and lucid presentation. But you let the cat out of the bag. We had, with great difficulty, concealed the fact that Manish was married, but you let the cat out of the bag. Over to over to Dr. Riju Mathew, sir.
I think there is no need of another explanation. It has been very clearly, vividly explained by Dr. Abel. I'll just take you through the pictures of 2 days, the first day and the second day. I couldn't actually compile the third and fourth because I know it will take long time. So this is a very short, crisp rush through the program so that you will know the beauty of the program and the complexity of the program. I should say that probably in the history of ACBA, in the history of ACBA and in the history of BCMCH, this was the greatest event. This was not told by us, it was the feedback given by everybody else. I'm sure that for ACBI, the participants were so happy, they were excited at the way the program was conducted. Unfortunately, there was only few representation from BCMCH to view or feel this great event. But we thank Dr. George Chandy sir, and the team of assistant directors who took time to reach there and feel a bit of it. Thank you for your presence there. That was a great support to us. We are only sad that we couldn't conduct the event here because the corporate was not happy with that. So I'm not, Dr. Abel has just thanked everybody. We once again thank the students, and there were few others also need to be thanked, like Lynn's mother was there throughout the program. We supported the program. And Kannan sir family was there, Sandhya ma'am and Ishan was there throughout the program, and they were there completely. And we thank all the program coordinators, and the venue arrangements were really good. I'll directly go. This was day 1 pre-conference. Audio. Registration, that was a marriage reception, they took over it. Pre-conference day. The evening dinner. we learned from the dinner that the dinner could not be outside. So the next day we arranged it in-house because the raining by then started. That is day one end. So this is just 10 minutes, 8 minutes, we'll close by this. We'll just, this starting day two. I've taken only main hall, the registration. There was no confusion. We had our volunteers and Lynn on side, receiving Hamji, Hanji, Hanji. This was the best welcome that we could give. And the hall, one of the biggest thing regarding ACBICON, the persons who are sitting there, they're all, they are from the different reputed institutions across the country and abroad. And you can't measure them or you can't understand them how great they are in their career and their profession. And you see their face, you can see how brilliant they are. Our team. As Dr. Kannan has already mentioned, probably the only conference of ACBA that had representation from all the continents.
The Hong Kong market, that's down around 66 points.
Support comes in at the lows of 19,914.
We thank all the corporates. Corporates made the event happen. And this was, this was some innovative, it was a live counter. It was completely, fully available throughout it was not like any other conference. So the counter was live and the tea was, tasty. One of the comment that we got by many are that scientific sessions were really good and were of high quality. The only deficiency that was noted that we couldn't manage the time. starts public function. I need to thank Dr. Grace for her complete presence there. Just to summarize the management of the event, our day started with the wake-up call from our HOD, Dr. Kannan. He used to make a WhatsApp call. Nobody will pick up the call. So later the breakfast should start. So we will come for the breakfast, join there. Then there will be trip from place to place. Arrangements are like that. We'll start. One person has to go there. The vehicle will go. The person will be in the hotel. So it was like that. Then everything was fine, everything was going well. We thank God, thank the management, the organizing committee, the ACBI, and all those who have supported us, prayed us, and be with us, and all our faculty, students, and the staff of the BCMC. We thank you all. And ACBI, for ACBI members and participants, this was a conference that made a big difference. Thank you all.
Thank you, dear Riju sir, for taking us through a musical journey, I would say rather, of your ACBICON, and
Even at the
we
last
are all
minute, some people said it's
inspired
okay,
and we are
like
all
that. Everybody
excited
has forgiven
for
me and
many more such
accepted my
programs,
invitation. Thank you very
especially
much. And next
when
coming
we
to
repeatedly
the
this is for the
auspices
students
from the international committees
here,
of
especially
IFCC
when we repeatedly
and
reiterate
APSCB.
that we are
From
a
IFCC,
family,
so
when we
many
call
people
ourselves
have
a
come.
BCMC
Set of
family.
Yanis representing
This is
the
what it
VLP
means
is
when
there. And so
we
many others
come
like Bernard
together
Roche
across
is there,
departments,
and
when we
Damien is there, and
work for
so
a
many
cause,
others
when we
not
see
from
such
IFCC
fruition,
like my good friend
that
Anil
is
Das from
the
Germany,
joy of being
and so
family.
many others from
So,
APSCB like
can we all
Helen Martin is
stand
there,
up
and then
and
Tony
with
Patrick, and
pride
so many
and
other
joy
distinguished
put our hands
faculty, and
together
from ADLM,
and congratulate
Octavia and others also
Dr.
who
Kannan
could
sir and
join
his
even at the
wonderful
last moment
Department
even
of
they tried.
Biochemistry.
And another person
What
who is
an
very close
amazing
to me is
thing
coming
they have
on the
done
way.
by
Desha
bringing in
Sastana
this
from
wonderful
Miami. He just
conference
accepted the invitation
and
just
also
2
leading by
weeks
example
back. And
how
he said
other
he's coming.
departments
Anyway, I
like
want to
us
attend your
can
conference
move
like that.
forward.
So many
Thank you so
people are
much,
there
Kannan
whom
sir and
I
Department of
am
Biochemistry.
really
Well
honored.
done, well
And
done.
then our oration speakers,
Absolutely.
they have all accepted so
thank you,
gladly.
thank all the
and I'm
faculty
really,
for
I don't
coming
know how
here,
to express my thanks to all of
especially
them. I think
senior
I'm
sirs
already
are here, sir.
overshooting my
Thank you all
time,
for
so I'll
coming,
quickly
and
go to
dear
my other
students as
task.
well. Have a
Other
wonderful and
executive
blessed
committee
day,
members of ACBI,
BCMCH family.
the delegates
Thank you.
who come from all parts of all the world, I should say, and the corporate members for the 25 companies from across the world, and also other companies which are not even associated with the laboratory.